Let me start with President Obama endorsing Debbie Wasserman Schultz for the race in South Florida, Miramar, Florida, where her offices are located. And this is in the race with Tim Canova. The reason I want to bring up Tim Canova and President Obama's endorsement, as much as I like and I am fond of President Obama, this endorsement looks like it has backfired for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, which I think is a good thing. I think anyone who's objective can agree that she's been problematic at best. We'll just leave it there. You can add all of the adjectives and all of the descriptors that you want in terms of Debbie Wasserman's leadership and handling of the 2016 election, particularly with the debate schedule. And to that end, she has become prime target number one from the left, from the progressive movement. Tim Canova has challenged her from the left. He's a progressive candidate. He's a former aide to the late Massachusetts Senator Paul Tsongas. He's currently a professor at a law professor at Nova Southeastern University in South Florida. I quite literally lived walking distance from Nova when I lived in Florida. So the interesting thing is, as they filed their quarterly filings to the SEC, did I say SEC? Yeah, I did say it. Whatever. He raised more than $557,000 in the first quarter of 2016. Now, I don't know if you are familiar with the type of fundraising that's involved. You know, for a congressional campaign, you're going to need about $2 to $3 million today, especially in Florida, especially in a race against Hillary Clinton, against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So this $557,000 puts a huge dent in terms of what he needs to raise to be a fierce competitor against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So he is well on his way. The interesting thing about it, is that $100,000 of that was raised in the last 4 days at the end of this quarter, of the previous quarter. And they are crediting that to the endorsement of Barack Obama. So the endorsement of Barack Obama seems to have backfired on Debbie Wasserman Schultz, fueling quite a few donations. His average donation is $20. There's only 6 people who've donated their maximum amount of $2,700. And so this should tell you that the number of small donors that have gone in to support Tim Canova. And this says something else about the question of whether or not Bernie Sanders can help down ballot ticket win. That was a big question over the weekend. And Tim Canova said this himself. He said that Bernie Sanders hasn't directly helped his campaign, but indirectly, Bernie Sanders has been very helpful to his campaign, because the people who support Bernie Sanders, automatically, they turn their interest to support other Democrats that support Bernie Sanders. And with Debbie Wasserman Schultz being the person that she is, being the architect of the debate schedule, being the person who said the superdelegates are there to stop a grassroots movement, you know, the type of troublesome and problematic things that she has said makes her that much more the target of progressives. Therefore, the success that we're seeing with Tim Canova's campaign, I would say this. I would say you definitely want to get him on the show, number one. Number two, you should check out what he's doing down there and look at his policies, look at what he stands for, and see if he's the type of person that that you think is the type of progressive that should be in office. So that's really probably all I'm going to say about that. But I think it's a great thing that this endorsement, because I'm disappointed in the endorsement. I know it's not a surprise. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is the establishment. Barack Obama is the establishment. There should be no surprise, but it should speak to the efficacy of the grassroots movement around Bernie Sanders and around people who support Bernie Sanders and around progressive candidates in general, because I think at this moment, whether it was Bernie Sanders himself, you know, whoever the progressive would have been in this race would have fueled this type of support. In my opinion, you may think of something else.